All right, everybody, welcome back. This is a unique opportunity to have us all on. First of all, I want to thank Pan, the organizer. I'm Josh V, Sock Detailing Made Simple, and Mike G for coming on. The goal of this video today was to go over Cerakote overview of where we're at, what's been happening, how can they improve. But the goal of this is not to bash anyone. So I want to keep that very professional. If you go over time, I'm just going to cut you off because there's a lot of us and there's a lot of questions that need to be had. So thank you all for coming on. I appreciate you all.
My pleasure.
Thanks for having us, man.
I want to thank, by the way, I have to give credit where credit is due. So Eddie and Sock came up with the idea that we should get together and do this kind of a roundtable discussion. Eddie, you're emceeing this. So thank you guys. And I think that if this is successful and people want to see more of this, where we can do deeper dives, and when products seem to have issues or there's maybe some drama that started, or do deeper dives in things, we have a mix here today of DIYers and professional detailers and people from different states, different countries. So I think that's a pretty good thing. Hopefully it catches on, and mature discussions between mature adults is always the way to go. And yeah, so thank you guys for coming up with the idea and organizing this.
I think it's cool too that we're all across the world, right? We got Josh V living the high life in San Diego. He looks like he has a tan. Mike G, where were you at, Mike?
I'm just outside of LA, close to the beach area.
So
in California.
You're in the hood, right? You're in LA, near Compton. And then we got Sock.
Not that far.
Sock, where you at, dude?
I'm in New York, Jamaica, Queens, pretty much.
Yeah, Bodega. And then Pan, where are you from?
Montreal, Canada. What do you have to say about that one, Eddie?
Hey. all my favorite people are Canadian. So we got like Ivan, Dewar, like all those people are Canadian. So I'm like, cool. The only thing I know is
Rick from Rod Garage.
Yeah, I don't know who he is. All right, so no, I'm kidding. I'm trolling hard. The first question I want to ask you guys, and this came up in conversation, and this is what's prompted all this. And then if it's okay, we'll start with Josh V and then go in the circle here. But the backlash against Cerakote has been severe. Josh, what kind of backlash have you had, and how have you navigated those waters, man?
And regarding, so the biggest backlash that I've faced is my interview with the president and CEO, Brian. Just because some people thought, like, and I can understand, right? Some of the claims of the hydrophobic properties on the door panels of these cars that have been coated are sheeting more than beating. Right. So that's the biggest thing there. And I think some people think I was being soft with him. But honestly, my whole experience with the product at that point was installing it. The installation is phenomenal. The gloss, the slickness, all that was fantastic. Other people that had been ahead of me on actually starting to test the product were having some mixed results. So I wasn't able to ask that kind of question, but I did ask everything that I could at that point with him. And again, I applaud him for taking the time to do that. I met him about a year ago. The guy does not want to be on camera. When I went up to their facility and toured it, he's like, "Hey, make sure I'm not on camera." I was like, "Yeah, no problem." So the fact that he did that, I was shocked that he said yes to it. And yeah, I really appreciate it. Everyone at the brand is incredibly nice. So I back him strongly. Yeah, the backlash is just, I think, on the durability side, and I think we'll get into that more and more as we go through the whole process here.
So Josh V, with that said, I do want to applaud you for getting the CEO online, asking those questions. Man. I think even Pam brought it up earlier. Like, he didn't have to go on your channel. Like, and by definition, you're this is gonna sound rude, Josh V, and I love you, dude. I buy products from your store. By definition, he could have been like, screw you guys.
Yeah, absolutely.
Takes a lot of courage.
Yeah. Yep. Cool. I want to hear Pan. I'm gonna leave you for last, Pan. Because you being the biggest here, not fat, because I'm the fattest person here. You being the biggest YouTuber here, you get the most backlash. So I'm going to come to you last because I think it's important for you to have a little more time. Not that you're special, but you've been through the circle. Let's go to Sock. Sock, tell us about your first video and what kind of backlash did you get and how did it impact you?
Yeah, so pretty much most of the backlash was really on the second video when I did the 2-week update video, and with that, with the water sheeting and stuff, pretty much a lot of the comments in there were saying installation time, or I didn't let the product sit for 5 minutes, or I have to shake the bottle like a shake weight for 30 seconds every single time I reapply it onto an applicator. And I'm just like, that's not the premise of shaking the ceramic coating bottle is for the opening part. And then if I'm shaking it every 2-3 seconds after after a minute or two, that means that it's well dispersed. But that's pretty much really where I was getting it. Is it's just sheeting, it's not beating as I wanted to. And a lot of people are saying that it's the installation that we applied it wrong. So that's pretty much the backlash of it. Is just is user error, it's not the coding. And that's pretty much the backlash that I have.
I applied it wrong, and then I remember that one time Pan came in the chat. He set me straight. I'm not gonna lie, I did. I put it on. I saw it like turn like rainbowing. I was like, oh, it's time to go. And then Pan's like, dude, read the instructions. I go, I have no idea what he's talking about, but I went back, took the instructions out of the garbage, took my fat butt out there, repolished the door. Yeah, it's 5 minutes, guys. Wait 5 minutes. That's my experience. I didn't get any backlash, and if I do, I'm pretty savage. So I just tell people how I feel. I'll move to Mike G because my backlash, I didn't have any. I just let coding speak for itself.
Yeah, for me, it's the application again. People were saying you didn't install it right, you didn't shake the bottle, you have to shake it every 30 seconds before you move on to a different panel. Like when I did my door, I did the top half, and then I put the coating down, and then I let that do its thing, and then I moved to the bottom part of the door, and then somebody came in the comments and says you're supposed to shake it again for 30 seconds before you go back to that panel. I was like, that's just for the initial opening that Sock mentioned.
And they do say it prior to starting.
Exactly.
This is where the 30 seconds is. So it's good to shake it. I shake it every panel, but not 30 seconds. But before you start, that's where the 30-second comes in.
Right. Yeah. And that makes sense, right? But 30 seconds every time is little. So I got a lot of backlash there. And then just the overall, it was not applied correctly. And the curing time, as far as like the temperature, you applied it outside. It didn't have enough time to cure, that type of thing. And it was like mid-60s when I applied it outside. So
degrees?
It wasn't horrible. 60, yeah.
Damn,
Fahrenheit.
bro. That's nice.
So,
I do want to say a couple things with you guys, and I think it's. I'll make this comment and give Pan the floor. Making YouTube videos is hard. People don't understand that. I didn't understand it. I don't even understand how Pan does 2 videos a week, or how ImJoshV is over here giving away the world every week, or Mike. You work at Rayon, so your job is that boom, 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 and then Sock working at 2 a.m. doing it. Making YouTube videos sucks sometimes. It's hard. It's difficult. It takes a lot of time. It takes a lot of time to edit. And if you care about how your videos look, you take a lot of time in your room in the dark with headphones on, a DAC just to get the monitoring right. People don't understand the struggle. So I applaud you. Pan.
Yes.
This question.
On the backlash. Luckily, on my channel, there hasn't been that much negativity because I think at this point, we're getting close to 1 million subscribers. They know me. I've been on YouTube for almost 8 years. So my viewers know my style. They know I'm thorough. They know even when I introduce a new product, it might be good initially on application because that's what I got. When I tested the product at their facilities, I was able to, and Josh, I'm sure they did the same with you, like do whatever you want. So we applied it, we had fun, and on initial application, that's one thing. We can't only say the negatives. Let's be honest, gloss, slickness, and ease of application for it, insane. So I was very, very happy with what I saw, and I was looking forward to do my tests. And they actually applauded that, and they said, you know what, this is Cerakote. They said, Pan, we know you're going to test this, and we know you guys are going to be testing this, and we're actually encouraging this, and that's what they're saying in their pamphlets as well, put us to the test. So they knew I'd be very thorough, and I'm going to do my regular style videos. And well, that's what I started doing. Now, what I noticed was the backlash on other channels, and this happens often, especially when you're, and I understand you're in a position now where you have this large audience. There's a lot of people who look up to you, but there's a lot of people who also don't necessarily follow you because I can't please everybody. So I know sometimes you just don't like a certain content creator. Well, guess what? Just don't watch their videos. Instead of having this negative outlook on things, it's funny. When I had less than 100,000 subscribers, nobody really cared what I was doing. And it was the funnest times, and there wasn't really any negativity. And then it seems when you reach a certain level, well, people are trying to figure out how they can pull you down to either hire themselves if they're another content creator that's jealous, or if they're just individuals who don't appreciate the personality that you have, or they just don't click with you, they'll find any excuse in the world to try and bring you down, which I find is sad. That's social media today, but I certainly won't accept a level of disrespect. And that's where I notice I'm crossed the line. Is it something, if you don't like a product or you had a bad experience with, but ultimately, and I'll give a quote from another high-ranking CEO from another brand that said to me once, Pan, you guys, ultimately, it's up to the brands to be accountable and responsible for the products they put out there. The best thing you guys can do is put it to the test, but you are not the ones producing these products. It's not up to Eddie to live up to the expectations. It's not up to Mike. It's not up to Pan, Josh, Sock, whoever is out there. All we can do is take a product, show how it works, do the application, hopefully be able to follow up. And you can have it both ways as well. There's a lot of viewers who absolutely want to see when something is new out there. I want to see it, right? I want to hear about it right now. So the stuff at SEMA, a new product that's released. So you can't say that you want something new and know immediately about it, but don't give us the time to do some real world testing. So this is what has happened here now. A new product is out and the claims are pretty good. They're not outlandish like some have claimed, because I went through their entire pamphlets and I made a video on that in my 1 month update. There's nothing outlandish, nothing different than anybody else will do. But they are disrupting, and that's, I think, where one of their mistakes were. Maybe they went too far in saying that they're trying to disrupt the industry. I'm sure that frustrated a lot of people out there. There's a lot of financial incentives from others. They're cutting middlemen out. There's a lot of things that happen, and that's not up to us to own up to. That's up to the brand to own up to. So what we started doing is doing some real world testing. So now that some have seen a few for some reasons, and I hope we're going to dive into that in this video, some might not, some applications or conditions we're in, there's something definitely up, because it's not normal after a month to see some changes in hydrophobic properties. I don't think Cerakote ever said in their minds, let's go out there and put out a bad product and have these detailing channels the opportunity to rip through us. Like, I don't see how that would be possible for such a large brand, and they're reputable. They've been there for like 20 years. It's not only their detailing line, which is small and new, but they have their trim restore kit that has been around for a while now and that's doing well. But they're large in aerospace industries. They're in the firearms industries, military. They do a bunch of other stuff that they're highly known for. So the backlash I've seen on these other channels is, well, some people who haven't even tried it, first of all, are just giving their own opinion. How can you have an opinion on something you didn't try? That
one guy. We won't mention names here, Pam,
No.
but I do want to say to everyone in chat, like, when you use someone's face, don't use it for wrong, because that's the dumbest thing I ever seen in my life. You know, that's like me putting Josh V's face on my Instagram and putting his post on my post to get views. Don't be stupid. I mean, don't be dumb. That's the dumb
writing on other people's coattails, because the videos did super well and popular. It's sad, but sometimes people just want to write on that. They'll slap my face on a video and try to stir more drama, and yet they haven't even tried the product. Like, what are you trying to do here? And that video gains more views than all the other videos you've made. Come on, man. So imagine if the bigger, that's what I was saying before, right? Imagine if the bigger channels did that, if we'd come up there and try to bash the smaller channels. But I try to support smaller channels. I have you guys on for collabs and stuff because I want to give back to the industry. But let's get back to so that backlash that I've seen is, there's starting to be, and we can't say that it's not happening. Some have had some changes in hydrophobic properties, and myself included. On the hood, it's been doing super well after the month. But on the door, I saw some quick sheeting style. So upper portion, lots of beating, but quick sheeting. So the product definitely is not dead. That's not what I'm saying. It's still doing fine. Some people actually like sheeting, but however, they claim it's a beating type product. So I think people are expecting crazy water beating, especially if you're saying that your product is a beater.
Yeah.
And that's, I think we've seen some change in the water behavior. So I'm trying to figure out, and I think that's why we're here today, what has been going wrong. And by the way, quick disclaimer, Cerakote did not ask us to produce this video. And another thing I want to talk about is they've never asked me to remove my video, even though it turned to sheeting. And
wait, Pam, we're doing this right now. We're going to the next question. You brought it up. So there's rumors,
bad reviews
about them wanting them, or about content creators getting the letter, getting the note,
They have never asked me to pull that video down, and you guys are there. You can has Cerakote reached out to you and either menaced you, threatened you, or said anything in regards to removing a video? I'm also very curious.
That's a good question. Let's go around. So, Pan, you're going to be last again. Thank you for that question. Josh V. I'm skipping you because we're going to go to someone who's more controversial than you, because you haven't. Sock, you didn't have yours didn't show beating like Pan's hood did. Have they messaged you yet with the paper that says it's time to take her down? Like, here you go. Did you get served?
Nah. They haven't reached out to me whatsoever. I'm guessing it's because it's a fair test. It's a real world test, as opposed, I'm guessing, to somebody else that was trying to, destroy the coating, and not necessarily to destroy, just more to see the chemical resistance, because that's a great benchmark for a ceramic coating. But in terms of everything else, is no, it's just it's a real world test. That's my verdict. So they haven't reached out to me.
Mike G, did you get served yet?
I didn't get no cease and desist or anything like that. The only time they actually reached out to me is when I posted the photo that I received it, when I posted on IG. And they said, we're interested in hearing your feedback on it. But they didn't reach out to me after I posted that video, and it's still up.
I did 2 videos on. I even put it in wrong. Didn't come in my chat. Like I installed it wrong. Didn't come in.
You're right.
Didn't say nothing. And then I redid it. I didn't get the paper yet. And then if they do, I'm gonna be like, I don't live here. I don't know who Eddie is.
And see, I think that's a testament to, I think sometimes there's some drama created when we don't stick to facts. And if there's something that will show us, prove to us what you're claiming out there. I haven't heard or seen any actual evidence of them lawyering up or threatening or asking that. Anyways, at least on my side, I can talk for myself, and you guys have said for yourselves, there's absolutely no threats. And if you did something honest and truthful, I don't see why. I don't even think you can have somebody remove something that has been done correctly. So you know what? You touched a good point, Eddie, that chemical resistance. I think that's a big one. So I always say that and I've done chemical resistance tests on my channel, so I'll talk about mine. And I told my audience recently, if you guys remember, I always say these are for entertainment purposes. When you're going to the extremes of using wheel acids, wheel cleaners, and you're rubbing it in and you're doing everything possible to try and see if they're still beating in the end. Now, although those might be for entertainment, what I still will acknowledge is that you do want some form of chemical resistance. For example, if you're going to wash your car, obviously you want it to resist at least to a pH neutral shampoo. But I myself, for example, living in winter, I will use those alkaline snow foams in winter to degrease the surface, remove the grime. I will use something like Carpro D-Scale, for example, which is an acidic pH, close to pH 6. Don't quote me on that, but somewhere around there, to remove any mineral buildup, because not everybody has the chance to have a water deionizer like I have. So some of my customers, sometimes they'll come in with clogged coatings, because yes, that can be a thing. There's this film, this grime that builds up, or mineral deposits. You want to be able to use a mineral deposit remover. So yes, I do want still some resistance to chemicals. That makes sense. I'm going to use an iron remover to do some chemical decontamination every now and then. I'm sure you guys do the same every 3-4 months, or as much as you have brake dust accumulation, potentially some tar remover if you have some tar deposits. So of course, then I don't want the coating to fail. So is there, what's your opinion on chemical resistance? What are you expecting out of chemical resistance?
We'll let Josh answer this first, the bad review ones and Pan's question, because I think that's a good question. Have you served yet, Josh?
No. My experience with that has been completely opposite, completely the other end of it. So a little over a year ago, when they released the Rapid Ceramic paint sealant, I did a video with that. Yeah, exactly. I did a video with that on a white panel, and I wanted to be able to give a good visual. So when I did that, I poured muscle milk over the top.
I remember that video.
Right? Yeah. So I made that video. That was right before SEMA. I was at SEMA. I actually got they reached out to me then, and they did not ask me to take it down. They said, hey, this is what we think is going on with that. But aside from that, we'd like to have you come up to our facility so we can show you who we are, who we're all about. So they actually flew me up there to take a look around. I was absolutely blown away by the facility. We did testing together up there with the product. So that's why I made an updated video on that. And the coolest thing about that, even though I made the updated product or updated video, on that initial panel that I did, the beating came back eventually. The muscle milk did start to break down and go away because it was just sitting on top of it, all the organic compounds of that or whatever. That's what they're like, yeah, we talked to our chemist. This is what we think is going on. And I was like, yeah, that makes a lot of sense. So I actually did take that video down, but on my complete own accord, they did not. When I was up there, like, hey, we would never ask you to remove a video, but I did it on my own because I didn't want to spread any false
pretense.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want people to think, no, this isn't a good product because I messed up on that, putting muscle milk.
It takes a mature person to also acknowledge that they were wrong on something, but it's nice to see that even despite you having a like negative type video out there, that they still didn't say or threaten you by any means.
Correct. Yeah. No, definitely not. So
then Josh, what do you think about the chemical piece of it? Like Pan saying, wheel cleaners, acid cleaners, and things of that nature. Do you think that's a valid test for ceramic coatings, or what's your overall thoughts on that?
Man, I think it's kind of hard because some ceramic coatings will fight that off, right? So when you're doing it side by side with another coating that may have that high pH, low pH resistance built into the coating, it's going to show bad because the other one's going to fight it off versus this one may not. With that said, like real world, we're not washing our car with acid wheel cleaners or high alkaline cleaners. So I get it. I think it's a good staple. I get again, same thing with me with the muscle milk, right? I was trying to give a good visual so that everyone could just understand because I'm a visual.
So you did
learner.
it for the views? Is that what you're saying? Like, I'm not asking a hard question.
What, the muscle milk?
Yeah, because I was like, this guy's a savage. Like, who does that? Right?
No, I'm just really kind of a moron and thought this will be good because it'll be able to show on a one panel. That was really the end of it. So yeah, no, it was really just, I thought this will be a good visual. And that was it.
Let me say something about the chemical resistance test, because sometimes I did one, I remember on my previous BMW M550i, I had OptiCoat Pro Plus applied on that one, and I knew it couldn't be any error mistake because Ivan LaCroix, so he's a good friend of mine, he used to be the vice president over at OptiCoat before. And so we had applied it on my vehicle, and I decided to do a chemical resistance test, and it was sailing through a few of them. But then one of the chemicals, I don't remember which one was it, Citrol 266, and it was one of the stronger ones, actually like destroyed the coating. And now I don't think there's any doubt that OptiCoat Pro Plus, and it was doing fantastically well for years on that car, no problem. And all of a sudden, boom, a 30-second test, there we go, destroyed. So I reached out. I'm like, Ivan, you said that this coating was resisting pH 0 to 14, the entire pH scale. So couldn't you throw anything on it? There's sometimes some chemicals, because you can't obviously test everything that's on planet Earth. There are sometimes something that can scar a surface or leave some either permanent damage or temporary damage. So he says, in this case, Pan, don't worry. This is probably something that's just scarred, that left a temporary mark on the surface. So you're shocking the molecules on the top portion of the coating, and keep washing it regularly as you normally would. Don't necessarily add any toppers. Just use a pH neutral shampoo. And over the coming weeks, it should come back. I'm like, oh yeah, let me put it to the test. And I did, and it came back, and I put that update in that video. And you could see that, yeah, the beading came back. So the initial thought too is like, oh my God, it's dead. So sometimes the initial thought of a chemical resistance test is it looks dead, but you have to follow up. Is it maybe something that's still on the surface, something you didn't neutralize? Is it masking or putting a veil on top of the protection? There's many variables that you can't account for. So unless you're a scientist and you can explain these things, at the end of the day, if you're just a person with no actual science background and you can't explain and you're just testing stuff and it doesn't work, it doesn't mean because the coating actually failed. It can mean that it failed, but you can draw hard conclusions. I think that's one important thing. So yes, we want the coatings to resist chemicals for sure, but it's not also because you see a negative test that it necessarily means that there's nothing left on there. You can revive coatings. I've seen people do that, and they've owned up to their own mistakes where a coating was dead on a panel test, and this is on other channels, and they came back and said their viewers were saying, no, it's impossible. We've had good experiences with this. There's something wrong. Did you try and neutralize it? Or sometimes you can use an acidic type product or mineral deposit remover to kind of revive them. And so they would try that. And Sok, you know a bit about that because you use the same methods as I do, right? Acidic, a higher alkaline. There's some shifts you can do in chemicals to bring back stuff. And then you're using a water spot remover, and all of a sudden, boom, unclogged, and it came back. But if you only rely on your initial tests and it's clogged, you're like, oh, it's dead. It doesn't always mean that it's dead. So you have to take these tests with a grain of salt. Like you can take my videos too with a grain of salt. Like any videos you see out there, at the end of the day, it's up to each person to do their own tests. Before I started my own channel, I used to test my own products because I want to find out what is good out there. But most importantly, what works for me. When I hear now Real world. What does real world mean? Is Josh the real world? Is Pan the real world? Well, that's the thing. The real world is your real world. Your conditions are not identical to mine. My minus 30 degrees Celsius temperatures and 12 inches of snow in a day type weather, obviously in Cali where Mike is, it's not the same thing. So you have to figure something out or find a product that works for you. So ultimately, you can do your research, look at the videos, look at the literature, but do some testing, test a few products, and ultimately it's up to you to make the purchasing decision. I don't think anybody puts a gun to your head and forces you to buy anything out there.
Only when my wife wants a coach purse. Sock, what about you? Where are we at with the question?
So pretty much what the question is that I want to touch up what Pan pretty much said about the chemical resistance, right? So in terms of not all chemicals are the same, like battery acid, for example, is the pH of 2. But if you put that on a coating, it's going to kill the coating. But yeah, we have water spot removers that are dedicated for cars, and Descale, Purifica from Laboratory, all these water spot removers are on the pH of 1. So it's meant to unclog the coating. So that's something that a lot of people need to realize, that there's different types of chemicals that will destroy coating, and it's not meant for coating. So that's really what I'm.
That's an excellent point on pH. You can't only rely on pH level, because you're right. There are some products that are low on pH that won't do some damage. Some are just pH 4 and will do some damage. Look at iron removers. The majority of them, people don't know this, but look at CarPro Iron X. In the bottle itself, it is a pH neutral product. Now, that doesn't mean that it's not strong, because it can help to not dissolve, but change the appearance of the brake dust. So those are jagged edges. When you spray the iron particle remover on it, it's going to make those jagged edges oxidize and turn rounder, hence more soluble in water. You can flush them out. So a pH neutral product that becomes, with an exothermic reaction, slightly acidic, only slightly acidic once it reacts on the surface, yet still that's some powerful stuff. But in the bottle, it's pH neutral. So you can't always rely only on pH levels. Same thing. That's a very good point. And another thing I want to say is, because we can forget this, I think we're acknowledging that there are some discrepancies in the application of Cerakote here. No, I don't think anybody's trying to hide that. So I hope we're going to dive into this. Why are we seeing differences after only a month in the hydrophobic properties? Because if we want Cerakote to improve themselves, we have to give them this like constructive criticism. We are seeing some differences. So what is your guys' experience with the application itself, or the results that you're getting?
Can I start off first on that one real quick?
Yeah, you'll go first, then we'll go to Mike, and then we'll go to Josh, and then Pam. But why is there a difference in hydrophobic properties for everyone?
So for me, is I take full responsibility on my initial coding video. I know Cerakote said you got to put in a crosshatch pattern, and there's another ceramic coating company that says you need to put in a crosshatch pattern, which I think is Detail Kings, like Jade ceramic coatings, is you have to put in a crosshatch pattern. If you do a circular motion or whatever other motion, for some reason it accumulates a lot more dust.
Do you really believe that though? That you can't just
I don't know. I
don't believe that, but
I don't believe it either. But again, it's one of those things to cover your bases, right? So what I did is I coated my whole half of my passenger side in circular motions, and then I coated the other half, the driver's side, the way Cerakote said. I haven't really seen any type of, one is lasting more than the other. It's just more of, that's about it. I just feel like the application process is super easy, but I don't think we have to do crosshatch patterns to get.
Were you in colder temperatures? I think I remember you saying 50 to 60 Fahrenheit.
Yeah, it was like 50, 55 degrees in my garage, and then from there it was that's why I left it there for like 7 to 10 minutes, and some areas was 13 minutes because I coated literally one whole half of the vehicle before I started leveling off, and I had my timer on there. But even then, all the panels were consistent. Whether I left it for 5 minutes or 13 minutes, it was still consistent across the entire vehicle.
So maybe there's something there with because I think you've seen the change from crazy water beating on the initial rinse, and then it changed to a bit of sheeting, right?
I saw the same thing, but I'm in a controlled environment. So I have 65 to 68 degrees in my garage, 40 degrees humidity, even after I wash in there, 40, 45. First, it was beating, and I left the car inside of the garage for 4 days. I didn't touch it.
Wow.
And then I did my first wash, and I was like, maybe it's a hybrid. That's why I kept asking. Maybe it's a cheater beater. Maybe it's supposed to do it. The disappointing part for me was that I didn't know how to take care of it. But
Okay.
does that make sense? Like I'm hearing discrepancies, and me and Pan, I asked you, and I asked Josh V. This is I just want to be able to wash my car without having to buy something different. Like I
Yeah.
use NV Snow Plus, which is a pH of 8, or NV Snow, it's neutral, and then for YouTube, I bought like $10,000 worth of chemicals, so I have every chemical under the sun in my garage, so I can use whatever the freak I want. What I didn't want to do, and I could have done this, right, is I could have put built hamper because based on your video, I bought it touchless,
Yes.
and I could have just raped the whole car. The
Oh,
whole car
yeah,
would
yeah.
have just raped.
I
And
tell
was like,
people to be careful with those because if you do prolonged use at the 5% PIR, that's their highest concentration. Like that can
game.
destroy. That's a pH 12, but that can destroy stuff. So you would use it at a 2% PIR for regular maintenance. I say use it at a higher pH, maybe once or twice a year. I like to do it, especially in the springtime, to remove a lot of that muck and accumulated grime and surface and all that stuff. And it really, really works well. But I have a Aurora coating on my vehicle, and that one has a very, very high durability to chemicals as well. So it hasn't damaged mine, but I would still always use precaution when using those. But to your point, Eddie, like if you look at their own long term, all they say is washed with a high quality automotive soap. So that, yeah, they aren't saying anything complicated, and yet some people seem to have a result where they're just washing even with a regular. And on my videos, I've seen that too. A few comments have come up that they've washed it 3 or 4 times since applying it. Initially, it was amazing, and then some of the beading turned into some sheeting. So it's still there, quick sheeting, but it's not the beading that they're saying that it's very, very like a very strong beading type product. Because Cerakote did say that it was a beading type product. So but you work in a controlled environment like I do. So for me, it's low humidity at 45% and perfect 68 Fahrenheit weather, which is 20 degrees Celsius indoors. So it is doing quite well for now. But I also saw on the doors that change from the perfect beating that I had on the initial rinse after the application, which was great. And that turned so quickly. So yes, the customer took it to an automated car wash once before I was able to wash it with the pH neutral shampoo. And in that video, I used Geon Bathe. So just regular, just high quality, very, very good lubricity, nothing special to it. And so is it the high pH automated car wash, but after only one wash? So that still wouldn't be quite good for it to change that dramatically. Because people are, let's be honest, if you put a customer's car out there, even though I tell them not to go to automatic car washes, you try and give them the best advice possible. Do your washes at home using a pH neutral shampoo. Every 2-3 months, you can apply a topper if you want to, although this one doesn't require one. But people are free to do what they want. And you know what? Sometimes they just don't have the time or the energy to do it, and they will bring it to a tunnel wash. So obviously you want this kind of thing to resist to it. So there's been something that's been happening there. So the only thing I see in my environment is that lower percentage of humidity. Some coatings sometimes require, because the higher humid areas have a quicker flashing time. Colder temperatures lead to a longer flashing time. So maybe Sock in his case, with those lower temps, something didn't bond properly. I don't know. That's why we're giving this real world feedback, because hopefully the brand can look into this. They produce their own products, so I'm sure they can turn around. Hopefully I'm sure they're analyzing the data. There's no way they're just sitting back and letting this unfold and saying we don't care. That's not the impression I'm getting from those who were able to meet with these people in person. And so what's the rest of you guys think? Like Mike, your experience?
Yeah, I didn't have the dramatic drop off like what you guys saw, because again, I don't live in that harsh environment like that. I saw them drop off a little bit, and I was mentioned to you guys, it gave me the G-Technic Crystal Serum Light vibes, which again, it's still a good coating, right? Some people tend to like more of that sheeting style anyway, to avoid water spots.
But yours definitely got the best beating of all of us on the side panels, at least there.
Right. Yeah, bro. Yours was touched by God. It's like God touched your bottle, but it wasn't like Pan's hood. Pan's hood, on his last video, made me pour out waters to my homies. I'm like, let's have a moment of silence for everyone that didn't get beat.
And you know what? I noticed that. I want Mike to finish up. Like, what was your temperature? But to quickly touch up on that video too, if you look at, because I like to take the before shots. So we had 8 to 12 inches of snowfall in one shot. There was a crazy storm. Well, of course, we're in the middle of winter here. They use road salt. So if you look at the side of the vehicle, I think that was the area that was the most impacted with the road salts. And they were there for a few weeks before I got to do the wash myself. So something happened with them probably eating onto the surface and causing some damage. Now, I didn't want to use any decon and just use the pH neutral because, again, I wanted to follow their instructions. But maybe it's clogged. Maybe there's mineral deposits. So in a future wash, maybe I can use something to try and unclog or see if there's anything as far as mineral deposits are concerned. But Mike, what was your temperature and humidity like kind of level when you applied?
So, and I applied it outside, so it was like 65 degrees Fahrenheit.
Okay.
And roughly, I was looking humidity today is like 68%, so roughly about the same.
No, you were higher on humidity, so maybe you did get
Yeah.
somehow of a better bond to it than
Probably.
just lower humidity controlled kind of things.
Right. And the car sat outside for the rest of the night, so temperature probably dropped another 10 degrees or so. And we had rain, 2 or 3 days after that.
Okay.
And so, it still survived. Again, the beating's still there, and you can still see it. It's just, I didn't get the dramatic drop off like what you guys have seen so far.
But you did initially, did you test, let's say the next day or a few days later, that initial hydrophobics without a first wash to see what it looked like?
I did it before I actually took soap to it. So during the first wash part of it, I actually just rinsed it off real quick.
Yeah.
The hydrophobics were fantastic.
So see, that's the thing that like is mind-boggling to me, trying to figure things out too, is we're trying to give constructive feedback, but the initial, like, I think we can all agree, guys, right? Gloss, slickness, ease of application. I think we don't want them to change that. Right. Those are pretty good. And the hydrophobics initially too were like pretty sick. So the properties are there. Now, how are they removed? So it's not like they couldn't chemically engineer the correct properties that we're looking for in a coating. So what is happening that is changing that? And from what I hear now, it seems that different conditions, humidity and temperature especially, seems to be really affecting this, because I do have some viewers, and to be quite transparent as well, it's not a failure for everyone. There's a lot of them who are like 4 or 5 washes in, maybe more, and they're super satisfied, and there's tons of beating, but those are in the more normal climates or more gentle climates as well.
And we have Josh too, where they're both in California.
Oh yeah, Josh.
And I think, Josh, what was yours? Because he's in LA, you're in San Diego. Those are far apart, yep. Right? So what was your experience like?
It's similar to Mike's. So I haven't even made a video on installation or anything. So I've been kind of holding off because I've seen all these other videos. I saw a slight degradation, right? Or not quite as much water beating on the side panels, but still after really washing? Good. When I was like, okay, yeah, after washing. So what I've done now is I'm doing a new test. I prepped the whole panel, a hood of a car and down the doors, right? So I installed 5 different coatings and squares on the hood. And then I installed the 5 different coatings on the door panel down the side. And then on the other side, I installed 5 different squares of Cerakote with different flash times, different applications. So like crosshatch versus just doing an overlapping pass. Again, I don't think that crosshatching is a big deal. I think they're just saying that just to if someone's new to it, they just want to make sure you're getting consistent coverage across the whole thing. Yeah, exactly. Even for me, I'm just overlapping, right? So I'm doing it that way. Also going a little bit, a heavy application versus a lighter application, and trying to figure it out that way. So I did those 5 different panels on the side, all Cerakote as well, all applied slightly differently. And I'm just going to run tests on that. So that all happened the day, Christmas Eve. I did that. So, my first test will be coming up here soon, but I'm not going to release, I want to do a full video of like the installation of it, first wash, and then probably a month out, so that I'm just trying to really wrap my head around it as well. Cause it is confusing. Why is it changing? And my initial thought was that it's clogged. Should it get clogged that fast? No. Right.
I don't think it's clogged.
Yeah, that's my initial thought was that, but
no, because you don't have weather like we do with minerals and salt, and so I don't think that can be the issue in your case. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, Pan, what do you think it is?
But mine's not reacting quite as bad as your guys' was.
Well, right?
It's not changing that much, but yeah,
I'm in hell. So winter is hell. Winter sucks. Like if I don't get winter, like
I hate winter. I live in the worst place for that, and I hate winter. Imagine that.
Yeah, I hate. But Pan, what do you think? Josh has the same experience as Mike, kinda. Me and Sock and you experience the cheating. Is it a conditional thing? What do you think?
If I had to guess base, because I obviously don't know the chemical structure of this. They don't even say what kind of coating it is. All we can do is assume what formulation's in there, because another thing was the crunchy applicator or not. It's not a coating if it's not crunchy. We know polysiloxane style coatings that don't, I spoke about that in my video, that don't harden up. So that has nothing to do with it. A coating can be very different formulations. So the only thing I can see with this discussion is clearly there's something, either temperature, either humidity, something in their formula that they couldn't account for, because they're in Oregon and the tests that they did, if memory serves me well, were in summertime, something like that. The CEO himself has had the coating for over a year on his, and it's going like crazy, crazy strong. So I'm sure, again, they're just not sitting there and being mute about it and doing nothing. For sure, they're looking at the comments. Hopefully they're going to watch this video and taking all this feedback in. I think it's important for us. This is what I like about this group, is constructive criticism, not bashing for bashing. I understand that there's, for products in general, we live in times where financially it's hard for everyone, and you do want to spend your hard-earned money on things that make sense, but we need time to test these. So after the initial launch, we need to set them out and send them out in the real world, do some testing. And like you guys did, I applaud you for also having Stoner for the iron remover that they had. Initially, myself included, the performance wasn't there. So they did well on the smell removal, but the performance wasn't there. Some had stained concrete. I did not have a sealed floor, so that has nothing to do with it, but it didn't stain my floor. But and Josh, I think, had that experience too, where
Josh took a hit for the culture.
Regular but we gave him an opportunity, and I think this is the same. You don't accomplish anything just by bashing for bashing. If you haven't tried the product, your opinion, it can count. If you had tried it, well, instead of bashing, give constructive feedback.
And that leads to the next question, Dan. Like you're saying.
Just 1 second. It's the only brand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but that has said, put us to the test. We're offering it for free to professional detailers out there, including if you're in the US, you get the shipping for free. And third, for DIYers, it's only $30 a bottle, $60 US for a kit, 2 bottles in there. And if you're not satisfied, you can ask for a refund. I have never seen that done. So they know they can own up to their mistakes. I'm sure if there's anything wrong, they won't not only tweak the product because they can afford to do it. It's their own brand. And by the way, they're not a publicly traded company. He said that in your video, Josh, and I really appreciated that. So they're not, they don't have to answer to anybody. They're not there to make profits for this bigger conglomerate that purchased them and so on and so forth. They're not publicly traded. So they spend their own money. They do their R&D. They can turn around. They have their own chemists. And I'm sure they'll look into this if there's improvements to be made. And if there is, everybody who had either purchased a product or got it for free, I'm sure they're going to make it up right, because that's one thing I noticed about the CEO. He will take responsibility, and he said it straight out. Like, if there's anything bad about our products, we want to hear of it. I'm at the head of this business, and I want to make things right. I don't think
he clearly
were bad, certainly, in doing this. Yeah, they ruffled a lot of feathers because it's an inexpensive thing, and they're offering it free for a lot of professionals out there. And they wanted us to put it to the test, and that's what we're doing. So we need time to test, and we need time to give feedback. But ultimately, I think the financial risk was little to none. So yeah, there's a bit too much drama around this. I certainly don't like doing that on my channel, and maybe some live off the fumes of drama, but that's not one thing I like or appreciate. Everybody, if they did a mistake, as long as they live up to it and they can correct themselves, just like other brands are allowed to, I don't see why we'd make an exception here and just knock to bash. Give them a chance to make it right if there's something to be made. And I think here the consensus is that there seems to be some discrepancies as far as temperature, humidity, application conditions, that kind of stuff. So what do we want to improve? For me, gloss slickness, 1-layer system, let's not forget that, and the low curing time. I want them to keep that for sure, and it's also they're very low price.
So
one thing they have to improve
on
on is definitely look into, is there anything going on with the application? Is maybe the 5-minute curing time not the good curing time? Is it not bonding on? I don't know, but for sure their chemists have to look into this. You have to go with a scope of different conditions where people apply it. And now I think we can see this and look into what is going on. Please come up with a revised formula if there is an issue.
So I want to wait before we go into this question, because I want to take a step back to something, not to take us three out, this triangle here, but you two have some of the biggest YouTube channels out there, right? Pan, you're approaching 1 million subscribers. Congrats, by the way. That's the grind. That's the grind. JoshV, You own a business. You run a detailing thing. You're grinding this out. You make videos. You told us at night, like you're out
Yeah.
there popping Adderall, making it at night. Pans up until 4 in the morning,
Yeah.
making videos at night.
Yeah.
I want to get this question out the way so we can focus on the last question of this podcast, and we're approaching an hour, so we'll keep this question 2-3 minutes. Are you all in Cerakote's pocket, right? Because when we hear, well, they're defending them, they're doing this, they're doing that, you hear it all the time. Well, they're getting paid to say that.
Yeah, I can answer that very quickly. I've touched on that so many times. It's getting old now.
Yeah, it is, man. I know, but
I have opportunities with a channel this size to do sponsored content with brands, and when those videos are sponsored, like the tour video that I did over there, I clearly disclose it. And as per FCC rules and regulations, this is the law. This is not something optional, and I abide by that. And people have the chance to either click away if they don't want to watch a sponsored content, and they can watch if they want to. But I still always guarantee that I will give proper information. You're going to have access to things like application. There's always something you can still take away, but it's up to you to decide if you want to watch the video or not. I think because I always see this, right? Yeah, well, I have a small channel. I don't do this kind of stuff. Well, yeah, because you won't have the opportunities. Not to knock on smaller channels. I was there once with 0 subscribers. I think the first sponsored video on my channel was like at 150,000 subscribers. So it took a long time because brands, obviously, they won't partner up with these kinds of things with the smaller channels. Another thing, don't forget, the sponsored content can also be just a free product sent to you, because technically, by definition, if you do get a free product, you're supposed to mention it so there's no bias in there. So there's supposed to be that tab that appears. So I always put that tab of the paid promotion. I disclose it in the video, and there's also a disclaimer in the description. The 1 month update, that is not a sponsored video. They didn't try to pay me in any way, means, or fashion. And again, I'm very transparent about all that with my viewers. So that was me, that I like I always do for updates on videos. And in the past, even when people say, yeah, well, what's the purpose of, well, obviously you had a sponsored video, so it's going to do well. No, I've had sponsored videos in the past where a product did well in the first year, and in the second year, it did not live up to my expectations. Maybe for some others, it was doing better, but I had to remove it from the Car Detailing Products Awards video because, well, if a product doesn't do well over time, it can also be demoted. And there are other times too, I always say, if I was biased for that, because I like to still think I'm open to all brands. No, I'm just not sold to one brand. Take CarPro, for example. They've never sponsored a single video on my channel. Not a
and
single
you love their
thing
stuff.
spent ever. And yet they're the ones who have won the most first places in all my awards video through the years. The proof is right there. People can watch the videos. So if I was so biased, why wouldn't I always pick just the brands that I had sponsored content with? So that's how I promise my viewers that regardless if I have these opportunities on bigger channels, and this is not just detailing, it happens all over YouTube. It's normal for big channels to have opportunities. So I think it's unfair when people try to bash on that. It is, well, they're free to have their opinion, but I'm still human at the end of the day, and I try to do things right. And I think there's a reason why, after almost 8 years of YouTube, I have this large following of people, is people have trust in my opinion. And they know if the Cerakote product doesn't do well over time, or somehow there was a flawed formulation and they come up with an update, they're going to find out all of it. I have no problems saying that a product is not doing well over time. And the proof, again, is there. If a product doesn't do well, I'll say it. If it does, it does. But until we test,
Yeah,
guys, we need time to test these products. So that's what I'll say on that.
Thanks,
when
man.
I do sponsored content, I always disclose it. It's up to people to decide if they want to watch or not.
Josh V, you're approaching 100. Well, you're at 150,000. Congrats, by the way. Last time
Thanks,
we spoke, you were at 148.
Yeah.
So you're doing God's work. You're not big BDE like Pam, but you're getting there. You're almost
He
there.
is.
Right?
That's a huge step. Yeah.
So let's talk about yours, because your last video brought some drama too. Not just Pam's, right? You two. What are you in their pockets? Let people know.
No, not at all. I've never taken a dime from them. I take that back. I guess they paid for my flight to go up to their facility and see it. Outside of that, not at all. I have to say, the reason I think people may think that I'm defending them is because I have been there. I've met everyone there. They are seriously some of the nicest people. An unbelievably impressive facility, and I can't imagine them coming out with a product that's not good. So if there is issues with different climates, right, where they're having issue, I'm sure they're addressing that immediately. But yeah, no, never taken a dollar from them. As far as paid as far as the paid promotion on Pan's release video, I 100% get that as far as it being. I mean, he didn't talk about the product other than the initial launch of the product and the initial installation and all that kind of stuff. Fantastic. His update video. I mean, it goes to show right there. Like I mean, it says you can apply it to glass. His result on the windshield, not great, right? Like it took it away.
I said in the video, it was not good on glass.
There we go, Pan. See,
absolutely.
If he was paid, he could not say that. If you were paid off, you couldn't be on a podcast and say, you know what, guys, on glass, 0. So to everyone online, you hear from Josh V, you hear from Pan, the organizer. We're gonna put that to bed, and then we got one more video. I didn't ask you two because I'm gonna be honest, you two aren't getting sponsored for a long time. Okay, us three, we got a while to go. This is.
Hey, by the way, Eddie, hopefully you guys get that opportunity too one day, because there's a reason why the bigger channels paved the way. And in the Creator Summit, the Car Supplies Warehouse, we had a big reunion, and one of the main talkers was explaining one day that the influencers at one point, we have equipment, we have expenses, we buy all these products, we buy all these tools and equipment. Heck, before I started my channel, I have spent tens of thousands of dollars on products and equipment in my 26 years, believe me. So there comes a point where brands need to give back. If we give exposure to them, it's only natural that it goes both ways. As long as you do it right, you give the proper disclosures, you're honest and truthful and true to yourself, there's no problems with that. There's no way that people can enjoy free content from a YouTuber for like 10 years and expect that person to buy, like my camera costs like $3,000-4,000. I have another $5,000 invested in my computer. I bought some audio gear. I bought like all this stuff. You travel, you have to pay for some expenses sometimes as well. It's only natural if you worked so hard to build an audience that you will get this come to your way. And I hope you guys get that too. It's not only about having a free spray every now and then that costs companies nothing, but more and more now I'm happy to see that content creators in the detailing space are getting these opportunities to have a broader reach and to be able to sustain their channels that people can watch for free. So yes, please support your favorite YouTubers by buying through their links. Most of us have affiliate links that helps at no extra cost to you. You can subscribe to the channel, give a thumbs up, watch the ads that play, just let them play instead of skipping. That's one way you can give back to the content creator. If you enjoy who you're supporting, and it can be anyone out there, if you're enjoying them, show them that support. If you want them to continue doing the videos that you like seeing, like they need support. So any ways you guys can do that, I think it's welcome by anyone. So hopefully we help pave the way for the future generation of content creators as well. Because I was seeing this in all the other fields and it wasn't really happening in detailing. And here are these brands making tens of millions of dollars and there's nothing ever left for the content creator that gives them all this online exposure. Yeah, I think that's unfair. So again, as long as you do the proper disclosures, you're transparent with your audience and your audience believes in you because you're doing the right thing, I don't see any issue absolutely with that.
Yeah, one real quick, I just want to talk about that. Cerakote launching this product, the way they're launching this thing, they're obviously putting a ton of marketing dollars behind it, sending it out for free to everyone, including shipping, all that kind of stuff. So, I get, they want to do the biggest launch they can. Pan's got a big platform, reaches a lot of people, so they wanted to do that. I mean, and honestly, guys, like a lot of people didn't know that they could get this coding for free and try it out until Pan's video came out, right?
And the CEO in your video, Josh, said they're into 6 figures already, sending these out for free. So they're like, I don't think they would purposely send anything out with a chance for that big of a backlash if they knew it was a subpar product. It doesn't compute in my head. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. I hope all you guys get the opportunity to go up there too, because the facility is like unbelievable.
Yeah, and a few have been out there. A few others.
Yeah, definitely.
I think for us though, when they sent me the coding pen, at first I thought this is where this coding goes to die. But I tried it and I was like, I was like, they don't know it. They've never seen one of my videos because I'm the most brutally honest person in the world. I don't try to be a douche. I just me and Fine Lab CEO, we're friends. Like we talk on the phone. I'm testing their new rinse list. So they took the feedback because I was like, bro, I don't know what you made. Like this soap stuff is not for me. Like, but it's I hope that Cerakote takes this last question because I'm about to segue into that. And then we'll start with Sock and go to Mike, go to Josh V and Pan. And then we'll end it here with this last question because I think this is what people want to know, right? Pan, Josh, Sock, I don't know what you're doing. You look like you're sleeping. And Mike's always serious.
I'm there.
Here's what we got. So if Cerakote could go back to the drawing board, what would be some advice that you all would give? So, Sock, if they could go back to the drawing board, knowing how we did it now, how it's going, what advice would you want for the new coating if they do
So
remake it?
So for the new coding is I want them to focus more on ease of use on a range of humidity and temperatures because there's a lot of coatings out there that you can apply it in 40-degree weather and it'll just bond perfectly fine. And I still like the roll coating ones, the one that I applied, I put that on and it's still going strong after 2 years and I applied it in 40-degree weather, you know? So that's number one. And then number two is a little try to advertise chemical resistance, right? Try to advertise chemical resistance in terms of for salt, right? We live in snowy areas, so you can make something that's much more resistant to the calcium and the salt that's on the roads. That's about it. In terms of ease of application, it's still slick, it's still glossy. The 5 minute window, it's a 50-50. For me, I could do pretty much almost the entire car, then come back, and that's about it. But all in all, just chemical resistance. And I know they don't want to say a durability claim. But even if you say you quote it as a 1 year coating, it's something that even if it's surpassed that, then it's good, right? Just having something with no durability claim is like you're just shooting the professional detailer in the foot without giving some sort of premise for the consumer that's buying it. So
Because
Let
that's
me
they're
my
ask you a
used to
question.
hearing years of protection, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
I got a question to ask on that because I always like to play devil's advocate. Does it matter? Like if I sell my customer a coating, am I selling longevity or am I selling my work?
No,
Because
you're
okay,
so you're selling your work, but at the same time you're also selling in a premise of like, hey, I'm gonna put the ceramic coating. Yeah, I'm charging you X amount of money to apply ceramic coating, but I don't know how long it'll last. It'll last but at least having a claim. For example, you can have a 3 year coating and you know it's gonna last 2 years in harsh conditions and sell it as a 1 year coating and or a 2 year coating and it's going to last. Don't make something that's a 3 year coating that only lasts in, California or Florida where it
Yeah.
barely snows.
that's
Yeah.
what I was asking, Pan. Because it could last. We could say, hey, it's gonna last 3 years, but in reality, any coating that says last 3 years could die in 7 months. It does
Yeah.
to me durability. It's a sham. It's just my it,
The way I have my discussions with customers usually is I try to have an honest and brutal in saying, listen, the coding in my settings from the ones I apply that I know how long they'll last or that have been doing well, it will technically be there for a few years. That's for sure. I don't want to overpromise though, because I don't know how you are going to be taking care of it. That's why I don't want to go the certified kind of route, because then you're kind of locked into the warranty and all that kind of stuff. It gets kind of weird because the majority of coatings, it's rare unless you're in optimal conditions or living in good climate weathers that
San
they're going to reach
Diego.
their maximum durability claim. There's always other factors, especially here in Montreal. So I don't know how you're going to take care of your vehicle. I don't know the maintenance. There are variables I have no control over, especially if you don't bring it in for regular washes with me. So if you're doing it, then so I think it's to be open, but I understand also SOC's position, and there needs to be at least, I think, a small baseline of what kind of to expect. And they still did the 200 wash plus guarantee, but I think people are so used to hearing years and years and years. Well, at that point, then just come out with something you're comfortable with and over deliver. So if it's it's going to last for 7 years, promise 3 years. If that's the case, I can guarantee everybody's going to go over 3 years and they're going to be raving about that product. If Cerakote had said this is a 6-month coating,
Yeah,
well, everybody would be super happy and we wouldn't even be having this discussion because we don't know. And there's no baseline. And I understand for pros, sometimes you need something to tell your customer. Because if your customer's like, is this a month or 3 years or 7 years? Where am I kind of ballpark figure? So to have that discussion with your customer, I think it might be important to kind of review maybe how they're marketing it. Although I applaud the fact that they're not promising these outlandish 9+ years that we're seeing now, or 7+ years. If that doesn't make the actual cut, who's going to test their coating for 7 years before they pull the trigger and say, okay, that's what I want on my car? Technology will have changed 1,000 times. So there's no way to know. So you need to give us a baseline of maybe what discussion to have. If I can go on what I would like them to improve, definitely please keep gloss, slickness, again, ease of application, and that low curing time. That is very, very good. You can send the vehicle off comfortably without even having to worry about it. But they have to tweak somehow the discrepancies in the conditions, humidity, whatever it is that alters that hydrophobic properties. If you're claiming it's a beading type product, you have to make sure that the water beading stays there. And also, I think it's been clear now that we do want some chemical resistance, at least to what we'll be using. High pH snow foams, maybe a bit more acidic shampoos to remove minerals, mineral deposit removers, whatever people can use on their vehicle as far as chemicals are concerned, other than a pH neutral wash. You have to look into that. It has to be able to resist to all that over time. So please look into increasing the durability. If you guys see the issue that we're having, if you're able to duplicate that in lab results, look into that.
Cool. Mike G, what do you want to
I think
see?
I think for me, so I'm good with the application. Very easy, very user friendly, gloss slickness. We're all good with that. The 5 minute window, I'm okay with it. I'm 50-50 on it, just like Sock is. I have no problem with it because I can coat multiple panels and come back. And so again, I'm okay with that. There's other coatings that also state up to 5 minutes or up to 7 minutes, so I'm okay with that. For me, it's if like again, just as Pam was saying, if they're going to sell us as a beading type coating, they better work on the hydrophobics so that they last much longer. Other than that, and also the wash process. Just as we're talking about a pH range, give me a range of pH I can use on this, because some coatings will say they give you a pH they'll put on the box or the instruction
Yeah, a
pamphlet there,
window.
a 2 to 14 or something like that. Just put that on there, and I think would be good there. And eventually, I've gotten comments is how long is this going to last? Those comments always come up, and again, they're trying to change things with just washes versus years in durability. And again, people just come to that, and I got the same type of thing with the D-Quartz Go coating. They're asking how long is it going to last.
And they haven't put any claims that I saw on that
So
one. Yeah.
I found it. You have
Oh,
to go
What
on
is it?
Yeah, you have to go on CarPro Global, and they have the spec sheet there for all their coatings, and I believe it said 2 or 3+ years. It's one of those two on there, so it's there. So I had to do some
Okay.
digging. I found it.
Interesting that they didn't put it
on the
more
bottle.
clearly on the thing though, as they normally would.
Right, right.
Well, maybe that's another good point. If Cerakote or any other brand, by the way, is listening to this, I think they can read from maybe mistakes as far as marketing is concerned. Because sometimes the marketing team and the chemists are two separate departments, and you obviously want to sell your product the best way possible. And by maybe saying the fact that it was industry disruptive, that's what they did here. Is they disrupted the industry clearly. There are some people that are unhappy. Even if they didn't test it, they're still going to go against it. And they're waiting for it to fail. And if it does fail, they're going to say, see, I told you, this wasn't a good product. Instead of giving them the opportunity, I think they set themselves up for such high expectations with the marketing of industry disruptive. Is that potentially what had people say, okay, now we're looking at you. You had our attention. You're saying this is, you want us to put it to the test, and you're saying this is industry disruptive. Well, let's see. Are they setting themselves up for potentially this backlash unknowingly? Again, not intentionally. I don't think they set out to put out a bad product out there, but were they putting themselves in a position where they would have critique? Obviously, I think this is the case, right?
Right.
Yeah. Josh V, what do you want to see?
Yeah, same thing that everyone commented on, right? I guess I agree with everyone for sure. I guess for me, the biggest thing would be I want to say chemical resistance and pH, just so that it's undeniable, right? So when someone compares it or sprays a little bit of something on or a high pH soap, you see the results and it's undeniable. With that said, because if there's an issue with the application where we're getting varying results in different climates, maybe it is, and it's just not performing because something happened during the application. If it was, too low of a temperature, too whatever else. So I think that's the number one thing to address. Like Sock said, just for the application, regardless of what temperature you're in, it's gotta cure up the proper way. Yeah. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah. What about you, Eddie?
Yeah.
I love everything that you all said, but for me, I just remember I'm bougie. Okay, my life is different, so I think 5 minutes is too dang long. I don't know why. Every coating I've applied, and I'm telling you, when I say I've tested it all before this YouTube stuff, I have an installer for almost everybody. And every time a coating would take longer than 2 or 3 minutes to flash, I'm done with it. Because in my mind, I'm like, my time is too precious. Like if I got this car and I got to coat it and blah, 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 and I got another car coming, I got to be able to rotate them out. And I don't want to wait 5 minutes. Like time is money. And then I pay my girls like $25 each an hour. And then I got to worry about paying them. So that 5 minutes adds up, in my opinion. So if they can make it 1 minute, 2 minute, where it could flash and indicators, because I'm blind. Like I'm so blind. Look, my glasses are so thick, bro. It melts my eyes. If we could get an indicator, something that outside of like just the bubbles or bigger bubbles or just a fadeaway, like an indicator to show me like, bro, you're ready to go. That would be perfect.
I would
quick
say that
question.
too, like with Gion Mo's, real quick. Sorry, Socks. Just with Gion Mo's, that sweating is a larger bead to me versus the Cerakote one. And for me too, the 5 minutes was almost like I had to wait for it to sweat at that 5 minute mark. So it was almost like the minimum. So I get it. You could speed it up. For me, it doesn't really matter because I like that I could actually just do the whole car and then go back.
Yeah.
But I get it, man. On a big
It's
truck,
very forgiving, and
thing.
it won't harden to a point where when you're wiping off and you miss that window, you're freaking out. So at least on installation, it is very, very forgiving.
I love the stress pan. I love I'm all about like high stress. So it's kind of like I rotary polish and cut a car. I do it because I'm bored of the DA, and I do it at speed 3, and I love the stress of a hologram. I know I'm weird, but I like the stress of
Keeps
oh my
on your
gosh,
toes.
get done, right? My mind changes. So if that's not a bash towards Cerakote, that's what I would prefer. If I could have the perfect coating, that's what it would be. But please keep the slickness. The gloss is great.
Yeah.
Change the hydrophobics to be a little more beating, and then I would say send it out to the people that have tested stuff, not to people who just want views, but send it out to people who test stuff in different climates and have them put it outside, have them put it inside, get back, send you your notes. Because I can tell you right now, if I would have put this outside in 50 degrees weather like Sock, the experience would have been worse.
Eddie, you touched on something. I don't know why we didn't speak about this. You're so right. So in this instance, Cerakote did not send ahead of time before the launch products to a few of the channels out there that could have done the testing. I know for myself, I'm sure you guys it's the same. And I know Mike is the same for Carpa. We got it before its actual release, the D quartz. There's a lot of brands who will send us products ahead of time. I've been part of development. If I look at Jurislick for their Holy Grail, I was on it for many, many months before they actually launched the product. So it was easy for me to give them feedback on multiple versions that they had as well, or many other brands do that too. So I can tell them straight up, in my conditions, nope, this didn't work, guys, or you have to go back to the drawing board. So better that they have that ahead of time and get that feedback, which they would have had instantly in less than a month. You would see those hydrophobic changes, whoop, lights up a light bulb. We can easily do the tweaks. I'm sure this is not something very complicated because they produce their own stuff. If you're a third-party blender, then it becomes harder because you have to reach out. And so they can control all this stuff because they're the producers. If they had done that and had all this feedback ahead of time, then when you're launching, so in this case, this wasn't the case. They had me over. All I had to rely on was my initial thoughts on my initial impressions until I was able to test. So the initial impressions and all of you guys, at least we can give them that. The gloss, the slickness, hydrophobics, ease of application, everything, it's all there. So you're like, holy crap, for $30, this is going to be very good. It makes sense that we're excited. And so if they had done that ahead of time, so brands, if you're listening, maybe send out a few of this ahead, or if you want to do your own testing, do some long-term testing in variable conditions on your own before you do a public launch, right? What do you guys think?
C6, I
100%.
got to share a story with you because this is savage. So Ivan knows me. Me and Ivan are friends. He slept at my house. We eat cheese together. So he's like, Eddie, I'm starting a company. I'm like, great. He's like, I need you to test it. So he sends me this C6 ceramic coating before they're about to launch. I put it on customer's car. Hey, I don't put it on my car. I get like customer. I'm like, hey, I'll give you the free bottle coating. You're just gonna pay me to polish your car. I put this diamond gloss. It was a 2-part coating for Ivan's company, and I get a call 11 o'clock at night from the customer because I let it sit for 15 hours. He picks it up. He's like, dude, there's sand on my car. I was like, what are you talking about? He said, there's sand all over my hood. He says, it's gritty. He says, I put my hand on it. It's sticking. It's not, something's wrong with my coating. You need to fix it. I start laughing on the phone with this guy. And I said, I told you before you left that this was a test coating. And you said, I want it. I laugh. He's pissed off. He comes to my house. Come to find out, the coating took 38 hours to cure.
Oh,
so I had to wet sand because this stuff that Ivan's coming out was gnarly. I had to wet sand the whole Jeep. And I put something else on because I was like,
how long ago was this?
Man, this was like I've been testing his stuff for like 6 months.
See, so you had an opportunity to give feedback, and you certainly didn't bash the brand and come out with videos. And so I think that's maybe a mistake too. Is some are too quick to release stuff, and then you're sending it out there. But once that's done, you never know what kind of feedback you're going to get. You don't know how people apply it. There's a lot of user error as well. that happens often on applications. And if it's not user error, well, then it boils back to the formulation and the chemistry. Maybe there was something wrong in there.
I was laughing the whole time, Pan.
So was he able to correct the issue?
Oh yeah, so we tested. I tested version 1, version 2, there was 5 iterations. After the 5th one, I'm like, all right, this is busting, and I put it in winter. I put it outside. I put it. The first one was so funny to me. The customer was pissed, but it was funny to me because I said I've never seen a coating have sand on it in my life. Literally, he was driving and dirt was hitting the panel because it wasn't cured.
Oh, it was sticking,
and it was sticking to the clear to the thing, and I'm sitting here dying the whole time.
And then it was also curing with that part on them, and so there was no way to remove it. Wow,
bro! Between him and God, and then the 12 hours I took to correct it, I didn't send Ivan the bill, but Ivan, if you're watching this, I'm going to send you my bill because
Ivan's such a nice guy.
Yeah, I love that dude.
I really enjoyed this video. Because we're going to have this on our respective channels. If I can have my viewers, if I can give a message out there, guys, you've seen the 4 people I'm with. You saw how mature this discussion was, how professional this was, and how things should be done. Please go out and support them. Eddie has the EDC details, Eddie Cologne detailing. Mike has the Mike G detailing. Sock has the Detailing Made Simple channel. I know Josh doesn't need any introduction, but still please support him, ImJoshV. Support these guys that are wanting to do some positive for the industry. And I'm watching you. Go out there, click that subscribe button. Go, please watch them. I don't know if we want to add anything else, but I really, really like this. This is going to be like a roundtable discussion. And if you guys let us know in the comments for any of these channels, if you want to see more of these in the future for stuff that we're coming out. I think we're also the voice of our viewers. Don't forget, we read your feedback. A lot of us here today shared those viewer comments, whether it's positive or negative. For me, as long as it's respectful, guys, I draw the line where it's just name calling, bullying, intimidation, and using foul language. No, that has no place on social media. If you're sharing your thoughts and your opinions constructively, whether it's negative or positive, that is fine. But if you enjoyed this kind of a discussion and you want to see more, let us know. Drop a comment. Feedback is important for us too, but I think we're the voice of our viewers, and hopefully we made Cerakote understand a few key messages here, and so they can improve on them. Because ultimately, if we want to benefit, whether as we're detailing pros or the end DIY user, we want those brands to succeed because we want those good products in the end. I think that's the entire point of the discussion, is we want something amazing for the money that we're going to spend.
Thanks, Pan. Well, with that, we're at an hour, 11 minutes. I do want to thank you all for coming. Josh V, Pan, the organized Sock, Detail Made Simple, Mike G. Any outros? If not, I'm going to end it here. Like and subscribe.
Just real quick, Sock, did you have? I kind of interrupted you on something, but did you have something you wanted to bring up, or?
Nah. Oh yeah, with just quick. Just with Eddie's window of flash time. It's just more of like have a 2 to 5 minute window that you can remove it within 2 minutes if you want, but if it's 5 minutes or wait, it's not going to be an issue. So I agree with that, Eddie, on that.
Like kind of the DIY detail coatings, right? They say 2 to 5 minutes. So when you see that you're getting that rainbowing effect, then you can start leveling. So for some people, it might be 2 minutes. For other people, 5 minutes. So yeah, maybe a larger working window, let's say.
Exactly. Yeah. And that's it. That's
pretty much it. Good points, everyone.
Cool.
Well, this is a bucket list item I'm going to cross off my list right now. Let me do it in publicly. Got to see Pan live. Got Josh V on here. Who else I got? I got Mike G.
Oh, you already have.
Hey, another thing I will say, you guys know I like to do collabs with smaller channels. That's the one way I like to give back and help them gain a bigger audience. Typically, I wait for a channel to reach 10 to 15,000 subscribers. That shows me that they've been there for a while doing the right thing. With what I'm seeing here, if you guys reach those opportunities, and I know you will because I love your channels, you can rest assured that I will be reaching out and having you do something cool on my platform, and then hopefully gain even more subscribers. I'm wishing everybody just the best of luck. You guys are doing great things. Keep on having that positive style attitude, even when we're not getting the results that some might have wanted or might have expected. So
I'm just taking notes, Pan, because I'm gonna hold you to that.
Let's do it.
All right, everyone, take care. We're out. Have a good day.
You all.
Happy 2024, everyone.
2024. That's right.
Woo!
Right around the corner.
Let's do it.